passion, tuning in, and selling out, which I'm sure none of us can relate to. Since graduating with a theater degree from a private Catholic women's college at the height of the financial crisis, she immediately started juggling 2 jobs and later added running a Republican congressional campaign, even though she's a Democrat and a woman. She moved to Chicago a year and a half ago and made her storytelling debut right here. And here's the story. We claim her. And then she went on to tell at Grown Folk Stories, Story Lab, and at the triumphant return of Scald storytelling competition. She has participated in multiple moths, and she finally won. Nice. And she will be competing in the next Moth Grand Slam. Valentine is pleased to find that preparing for story events is really fast-tracking her memoirs. Please welcome Valentine to the stage.
Thanks, Cash. He's my favorite, too. So I'm a pretty awesome girlfriend, you guys. No, seriously. Let's see. I'm low maintenance. I haven't seen my hairbrush since I moved. I'm really tolerant because I have a terrible memory, so I tend to forget whatever pisses me off about you. Occasionally, though, I have blood sugar problems, so if I do nag you occasionally, just hand me a donut. I won't be able to resist, and that donut will make me take a 3-hour nap. You can just spend a quiet afternoon at home. But there is one problem. I fart. Like a lot. I have a terrible memory, right? So I keep forgetting whatever does it to me, although I have a suspicious inkling that it's probably everything. Or at least everything that I like. My boyfriend got a version of this warning before we started dating, and in fact this was the chief reason I suggested he not date me. But he did. And my boyfriend invited me home to Christmas with his family, which is great because my boyfriend's parents love me. I don't mean this boyfriend's parents specifically, I mean all my boyfriend's parents ever. My penchant for dorkwads means that I usually show up right in the nick of time as far as the family is concerned. So my boyfriend's parental units are always super happy to see me, and I run on gratitude. I really do. Even though we both had cars, we decided to take his, even though the heater didn't work, because it was much better on gas mileage. I own an SUV, not good. And we figured that with the car and all the windows closed, that our body heat would eventually warm the cab on our way to a tolerable temperature. We knew it wasn't going to get tropical in there, but it would be fine on our way home. Not the case. Not at all. It turns out the car was not very well sealed against the outside, so there was a slight breeze the whole time in December. And even with our coats buttoned all the way up and gloves on, my boyfriend was probably fine, actually. He's very cold-blooded. I was probably wearing his gloves and my gloves. Not good. It was 4 hours to Indianapolis, freezing for 3.5 of those hours. On our way there, we actually stopped by to warm up and to see our old friend Hannah. Hannah worked at the Texas Roadhouse that day, and there are 3 things that Hannah can get from Texas Roadhouse without her boss noticing she's given them to us for free. Peanuts, rolls, and chili. My boyfriend corn digs into the starch, and I love me some chili. I'd call myself a freegan, but I'm not full of myself. And Hannah, being such a good waitress, she just kept bringing more portions. And me, being a freegan with a poor memory, who hadn't really eaten a lot before we left the house, I just kept eating them before realizing the horrifying mistake that I had made. After a very cold but blessedly brief drive from Texas Roadhouse to my boyfriend's parents' house, where I was welcomed and showered with affection and material possessions, comes the traditional Christmas feast. And all that food turned a bad situation into a really pressing situation. And in a house full of people, I had to keep making excuses to leave the room, except that the rooms I went into would also be full of people, so I had to keep making excuses until I eventually found an empty room. Thank God they had 3 bathrooms. I prayed to sweet baby Jesus and cursed my Polish ancestry in each of those bathrooms. Finally, the only empty room that I could find was the guest room that me and my boyfriend were staying in, and as I was leaving, closing the door against the guilty fog, my boyfriend was trying to come in. Now, I remember this part in slow motion, like a movie. I was like, no! And I was hoping that maybe it had dissipated by the time he reached the threshold, but I saw the look on his face and it had not. And there was nothing left to do but confess. He says, "Is that why you've been sneaking away?" "Oh, I thought I'd been sneakier than that." And I didn't have the heart to tell him that half of it was that I was in a house full of rich people I didn't know, and the beagle kept sneaking away, and she knew everybody. Oh, I forgot to tell you. We were spending the night. My boyfriend is now trapped in a room with me and my flatulence for 8 hours. And of all the awkward things that parents can hear when a young man brings his girlfriend home for a holiday sleepover, I really don't think they anticipated, uh-oh, I'm sorry. And why? Why? From my boyfriend. Why? Why do you keep warning me? It just makes it worse. I don't know. It's built into the system. And then, of course, our 4-hour ride home. We couldn't open the windows because we would freeze to death. There was no heat. We tried getting out at a gas station or two, but when we got back in the car, it was just worse. The whole way home, my poor boyfriend, uh-oh, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm like this. Why? Why? My poor, long-suffering boyfriend just kept repeating like a mantra to convince himself to keep loving me. Well, you did warn me. Well, you did warn